Action, D21, Nissan D21 owners out there. This is an important message. It's one of those messages that I feel I need to put out there for anybody who's doing a Weber install on a Nissan, or I'm going to have to say a 95 Nissan and up that has the new type intake manifold that I showed on the previous video to this video, because it's the only way this is going to work. I mean, instead of having to go out there and buy some stock metal and cut out a plate and it being too thin and not set up high enough and not get the right plenum effect or the vortice effect, because you get performance with plenums, and that's just the way it is. I don't want to settle for anything less. I don't want to do this again. All right, so what do we have here? We have the TBI carb, the top piece. We have the carb itself and the base plate. We have the intake, high fuel intake manifold that I made that's for sale. We have the fuel injector braille with the injectors for the 95 and where did my brain go? Yeah, what is that? Y'all know what that thing is called. Anyway, I'm just excited because I ordered this yesterday evening and it's already here. So, will I have to use this drill and tap set for the metric 1.5 or 1.50 studs? No, but it's good to have because I didn't have one, right? All right, but I want to get this out of the way. The bolts to plug up the factory injectors, right? See those things? They sit right in the holes and they inject right into each tube of the intake plenum. Now, if you're gonna plug those up, the best thing I found is I went to Home Depot, and it is a AYB, okay, and it is a low grade. It doesn't have to be a high grade metal, just a low grade, because I'm gonna eventually have to cut these down to like right there, and these will like self thread themselves in if you actually try to screw these in. But I'm going to use a Dremel, and I'm going to Dremel down the threads just a little bit because I already know it's going to be a snug fit. That's what I wanted. And then with some silicone and then shoe glue, I'm going to twist and tap these things in, and they are never coming back out, and they're going to be sealed in there. Perfect, nice and tight. So the one that was the wrong size is the BPC. It's just a big bastard. You could see the difference, right? But I was like going off of like a dime, because a dime is still bigger than the diameter of that circle, okay? Because that's the part that goes in. The injector sits in the middle, so the injectors are in here. I didn't take them out, okay? Here is the adapter plates, the two adapter plates. This is the Honda Accord adapter plate. It is 5/8 aluminum. This is the aftermarket 1/2 inch CNC aluminum plate, okay, that I bought on eBay. Now when you get it, you can get it where it's like 2 holes, or you can get it where it's open. I accidentally ordered the one with 2 holes. That's why I had to cut the bridge out and open it up, okay? And then when I did that, I actually opened up the Honda Accord one too to match. Basically, it's like a big port. I was port matching it. So this is just a little over 1 inch thick, including the gaskets. That's a good plenum right there. The carb's going to sit on top of that. And then, to my surprise, this is the Mr. Gasket, part number 1933. Now, this is going to be the surprise here. So we're going to take this, put it over here. I'm going to take this, put it over there. Wait till you see this. And I did this by visual, just by visual only and reading, right? So look at this. Holy crap. Look how much stack height I'm going to get. That's a big plenum. Talk about some romping heaven. So, that is so crazy. So basically, I can take these studs out, these Spectry studs that I bought. I can take them all the way out, right? And I can use the factory bolts that they supply. They supply some studs, right? Actually, or I can just use these, because when you flip this over, there's a spot in there for a nut and a washer. And so you bolt the stud coming up, and then you mount the plate on. But be as it may, you can put that Weber right on top with the gasket. But the studs have to come from the bottom, okay? Now, here's the other kicker. Look at this, guys. This is what bolts onto the intake manifold, right? Crazy, like I'm saying, man. I've never seen this. I didn't know what I was getting into because I never took one of these off. I just knew that there's no kit out there. There's no adapter kit for the newer Nissans. They probably figured, why do it? They're fuel injected. They're probably never going to want to do this. Well, they didn't come across me yet. So when you look at this, right? You look at that hole, this one, and this one, and this one. This is a universal, okay? Part number 1933. When I look at the holes, I will just have to open up one of the holes a little bit in this plate that I purchased. Other than that, this thing will bolt right on the intake manifold. How about that? That's as close as you can get. And these tabs, I will just cut them off like that. I'll just cut those tabs off because they're not needed. Okay? They're not needed, and therefore, you know, that is for, like, because this manifold adapter plate is universal. You can flip it upside down too and put a 4-barrel carburetor on top of it and downsize the throat for economy, like if you're using a small 4-barrel. So basically, I'm going to use it like this, where I'm going from 2-barrel into a 4-barrel type scenario, because you saw the intake manifold. It's got 4 barrels, 4 separate barrels for each piston. That is as rudimentary as you can get for instantaneous power, man. That's like giving each cylinder its own port. So I might even use this still and put this on top of it. So I'm going to get busy. I'm going to open this up. Okay. See the bottom? See how nice and smooth it is? Kind of like the underside of that dome when I showed y'all. It's like a big old smooth chamber. So you see? So if you put a big old 4-barrel on there, you're going to have 2 barrels and 2 barrels, and they have to go down, and this helps squeeze it all in. And this is cast aluminum. Feels very good, very sturdy. Alright, so we're going to put this over this. Actually, let's do it like this, right? Because I want y'all to see that this is now possible to do by ordering a Weber carburetor. Wow, that's really close. That is really, really close. Oh my gosh, I just can't believe how close that is. That's as near perfect as you're going to get. We know that there was going to be some drilling and some cutting involved in this project, but this really breaks it down to the minimal. I am surprised. This is why I'm doing this video, to let people know that if you're going to do a Weber 3236 or 3838 downdraft carburetor on a newer intake manifold, give these Mr. Gasket part number 1933. This is the more economy sized adapter plate. Some of the other ones, they're real big. They're just a bigger, because there's bigger carburetors out there for different applications. So this will work with a Rochester 2-barrel carburetor. It'll work with a Weber 2-barrel carburetor. It'll work with a Holley 2-barrel carburetor. There's other manufacturers out there that make carburetors that are almost, they look like this. They all have the same bottom. But the most important thing that I was noticing is that where the carburetor sits, it doesn't get any more perfect than that, yo. Does not get any more perfect than that. Let's see how these studs align. The mounting studs. Booyah. Yep. All that takes is a drill bit, an oversized drill bit, or the same size drill bit, and you just bring it out to the edge and go, you know, up and down, and you can lengthen this hole out this way. And I'm gonna call this a win-win scenario, especially for somebody like me. So what did this mean? That I really need the Honda Accord bracket? Well, it looks like I did it, but you know what? Why not? Why abandon it? So basically, I can just Dremel and cut these. I can cut this all the way off, all the way around. I'm not gonna have to drill any holes or tap any holes. And basically, it's a little over an inch stack of height. And then on top of this, oh my gosh, look how much stack height that is. Yep, it can't get any better than this. So I'm gonna call this a win-win for the Weber 3838 carburetor. It comes with gaskets. This thing comes with all the hardware, locking nuts, washers. It even comes with machine screws. I mean, it comes with enough hardware. That's like a, yeah, man, that's, see why I say universal? So I don't need to use this gasket, because I already have that gasket. But that's a lot of cutting, man. That's a lot of Dremel wheel abuse right there. So maybe I'll use a bandsaw or something like that. But I definitely want to clean that up. I definitely want to edge that off. I'm not going to go buy another plate, you know. I mean, I spent like the $70 on that kit. It's real CNC aluminum. I know it's $64. But what does this prove? This means that you don't have to order this. You can order one of these. They come in a 1/2 inch and 1 inch on these. So you can order a 1 inch thick and it'll come like this, or the 2 holes. But it's better to just get the open one for this application. And then you can always put that will bolt up to the Weber, or the Weber will sit on top of it, or what carburetor of your choice. And then those adapter brackets will sit right on there. So I'm gonna open up these holes a little bit to make sure that I get a perfect fitment. I'm going to mount this. I'm going to make preparations, make any markings I need to, so I can mount this on top of the manifold first. Right? I want to get this mounted, and then I'm going to have to mount this to the adapter bracket. Right? I'll mount that to the adapter bracket. Last but not least, the Weber will go on top. That way, all this stays on the truck. Okay, guys? So I want y'all to know this is a very important message. This is the actual plate that the electronic carb sits on. And this is the part, that's just like the, all that is like the big intake plenum. Just like you see on cars, but usually on cars, they're like longer. And it's like a lot of aluminum that has a big tube coming off of it. Well, this is the way Nissan did it to make it look kind of like a carburetor, but it's an electronic carb. But it's 2 parts, okay? There's nothing performance done to this. This is all stock. This is where the IHAC solenoid goes, the other solenoid. Those are vacuum controlled solenoids, your power booster, electronic water jacket, you know, the throttle linkage and shit like that. The butterfly, it's just one big butterfly. But this is the part that you would just bolt on to your existing, okay? Just bolt on. Boom. And it only goes one way, okay? And so I'm supplying the bolts with it. I put a little gasket and I installed the gasket for you. So all you got to do is just slap it on. Hook up your air temperature sensor plug to that. The plug's already in there. This is getting discarded because I got to take off this. And all this is junk. That is just totally useless. I mean, there's nothing on that really goes out. I mean, this is where the TPS sensor goes. I took it off. It's in the bag. There's a brand new, also the MAF goes on here, but I got a new one in the bag. All the gaskets, the bolts that screw this on in case you screw yours up. So this is a very important message for people wanting to do a 38 millimeter Weber Dow draft carburetor. This is the lifesaver. It doesn't get any closer to a fitment that's going to work. I don't have to go out there and put this on top of the manifold because this sits right on top of the manifold. It's essential that they had this piece in there. So this is what I took to AutoZones and Advances to look at some of their other adapter plates. And they usually just carry the ones for like V8s, you know, bigger cars. And there's like a 1929 part number. And it's a bigger one. But this is the economy size for people that have V8s and V6s that don't want to race. They don't want to put the biggest carburetor on there, and they want to have that big block lump torquey motor and have efficiency with some performance. So it's not always about going to the drag track. Now, if that is, well, you know what you're doing and you know what to do. This is just me helping you fix out the issue for the Nissan D21, because this is a massive upgrade for the Nissan D20. The factory EFI system for the Nissan D21 is by far, hands down, a big high performing part in the way it all works. But if I'm going to put something else on there, I want to match that. And then with the cold high flow induction, well, it's cooler air. It's not cold air because it's not a turbo, but it's cooler air. It's a long tube that helps the low torque of the motor, you know. It creates some pressure, some vacuum pressure on there as well. Really helps the intake system work. And so this is basically, it's either going to be the same or it's going to surpass it just a little bit more. And I just won't have to worry about all the wires and vacuum and all that stuff and the computer having to override it anymore. Now I can just tune the carburetor whenever I need to. If I so desire to, if I'm not getting enough economy out of it, I could always go in there and downsize the jets and the air correctors, and that'll basically just, you know, it won't flow as much fuel and it won't flow as much air. It'll just bring it down to like a 32, 36 level. So 38, 38 outlaw, they call that an outlaw for a reason. It's not that it's outlawed. It's just, it's a fast, high performance, instantaneous, high response carburetor. Now it's made for this motor with the stock cam, the springs, the head, stock exhaust. You can slap it on there and go. But if you didn't do all the other parts to your motor, then don't expect anything else more out of it. So I've already done a lot of other things to increase the rapid response of this motor. So just changing over to a carburetor. Now, if you don't have an electronic fuel pump, guys, this is the Holley external fuel pump. It's part number 12-426. It's 1.5 to 4 psi max. So basically it's power and ground. You bolt this on the side of your frame below the fuel tank on the side rail. So the pickup lines are going to go up and in. So you always mount this close to the fuel tank. And you would take your electronic fuel pump out and just put a straight hose in, you know, basically modifying your fuel tank from EFI to a regular pickup. And this is going to be a gravity fed. It's got one in, one out. As a matter of fact, that's the filter that was for this, but I'm using it on here because it's a high micron filter. So that means high filtration, okay? This is like $54. So like if the fuel pump went out and say I was stuck and I couldn't order an EFI one, just because I like it because it's quiet, it turns on with the key and it's already part of the truck. Basically, I would pull the old fuel pump out. Now that I have the access door, I would tap these wires into the power wires that go into the electronic fuel pump. So when I turn on my key, this turns on. And I would just run the hoses, the one that comes from inside the pickup. So it goes in and out to the carb. And therefore, and then I would block off the return. I would no longer need the return because this carburetor is for PSI max. You're not going to overpressurize it. But with a high fuel flow electronic fuel pump, like in the Nissan, it's putting out probably 40 to 60 PSI. You know, by the time it's going through the lines, you know, you're going to lose some PSI. Like I said, that pressure regulator on that, it regulates from 36 to the low to mid 40s, depending on the RPM. Like when you're on the highway and it's demanding more fuel spray. So it is not the highest fuel pressure fuel pump, electronic fuel pump in our trucks. But let's face it, if I was to take this off, right, and it was just in and I ran the electronic fuel pump in there, it would overpressurize this and the fuel would start guzzling out of the overflow. Right there, it'll just start coming out from the bowl vent. Yep. Seen it happen before with other people. But anyway, I hope this helps y'all. This is the message that I'm going to give to everybody. This is, you know, the universal plate for a Weber or other carbs that are like the Weber. Okay, it's a universal. And as you can see already how close it is to the fitment. So I can use my factory bolts and bolt that on, seal it up with a gasket. You know what, I might just leave all that shit on there. It's just more time I'm gonna have. You know, I could always get to it later. I just want to make sure that it gets on there and it works. I don't really have time to sit around and be cutting and cutting and cutting. But I do have drill bits where I can open this up a little. Okay. And this bottom right here on the bottom, just so I can get it on there bolted. And then I need to bolt this on to it. So I'm gonna have to take these out and then run them from the bottom and use some major Loctite, maybe some double, whatever I have to do to make it work. I want to make it work, and then bolt the carb on top and hook up my lines. But I got to go to Home Depot real quick because I have to go exchange the 4 big ones and grab 3 more of those, and I got to plug up those fuel injector holes. Okay guys, so I hope this really helped pass the message on. There is no kit available for this vehicle. You can just order the Outlaw or the 3236 carburetor. It'll come with its own base mounting plate for 95 and up. There is no adapter kit. This is the adapter kit that will work with it. And then you would put your little adapter plate that comes with the carb. It will fit on there. So this will help you understand what is needed and how it all looks and what to expect. Now I know. Now everybody knows. I hope this helps everybody because nobody's ever done a video on the deep inside guts on this install. But you know what? I knew I was expecting the unexpected. But I'm excited now because now I'm able to pass this knowledge on to you. All right, guys. Peace. Thanks for watching and subscribing.